Good morning, I am Sunshine, and this is the ABCube method for solving Rubik's Cubes. I normally walk through a step per day during the week on weekdays, but I'm also, there's nobody watching me yet, so I'm going to do a quick overview of how the formulas work. I created the ABCube formula in 2020, and the formula A is 4 moves, formula B is 8 moves. Formula A is 4 moves, formula B is 8 moves, and you hold the cube looking at the front of the cube as if it were rows and columns, and those are the only things that you change. Formula A is one row and one column, usually the bottom row and the right column for working with corners. It can also be the middle row and the middle column if you're working on this absolute center. Formula B is always the top row and 2 columns, and what 2 columns they are is dictated by what you're trying to move. So if you're trying to move corners around, then the 2 columns are the outside columns. If you work with an outside and inside column, it'll move an edge around. If you move 2 inner columns, it'll move a center around. And that's all you ever need to do with every Rubik's Cube. Bring your color to the top with A, move 3 pieces around if needed with B, and that's all you ever need to do. So let me demonstrate. Formula A. Bottom row, right column, out, down, in, up. That's 1. Out, down, in, up. That's 2. So this can whip on its way back to the top, out, down, in, up. That's 3. So you'll notice that a lot is going on, but if you do a multiple of 6, it goes back to start. So as long as you're not, if you want to save what's on the bottom, as long as you don't rotate your cube and only rotate the top row as you're working with the top row, then the bottom resolves itself. So formula A is used it switches these 2 around, and so it's good for twisting. It's good for placing things to the top, and if they're on the top but they're not correctly twisted, it will twist it as it goes down and back up again. So formula A does that. Formula B, like I said, moves 3 pieces around. Top row, 2 columns if we're working on the corners. Up, up, down, down. You notice that it's a mathematical 0. For every left there's a right, for every up there's a down. So it's only moving the pieces you want to move. The bottom does not change at all. The only thing that moved was 3 pieces, and that's these corners. If I do it again, up, slide down, 3 pieces moved around again, and once more we'll bring it back to solve it. Before I do, I'm going to demonstrate how formula A twists the pieces around. So I'm going to bring the white back to the top before I do this. So out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up, not to the top yet, out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up. Okay, slide it around, bring the white to the top again. Formula A, if it's anywhere on the top, A will twist it until the white is on the top face. Okay, slide it again. Formula A to bring my white to the top. It's always going to be a multiple of 6 times because that's what it takes to keep your bottom stable, the lower half of the cube stable. So again, we've got the corners. 3 of them still need to be switched though. So we go up, up, down, down. And so now each cube is in the right place but twisted. And so formula A again will twist them. Out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up. Slide the top to protect it. Keep working on this one. Out, down, in, up, out, down, in, up. White's on top, slide it out of the way. White's on top. So B is always top row. Outside columns moves corners around. Outside and in moves the edge piece around. For example, if this piece, if I do formula B, then this is my first row is where it wants to land. Second row is where it begins. Away, up, in, up, away, down, in, down. So to move to this way, first column is where it's going to land, second column is where it begins. To move this piece over here, this would be my first column, and this would be the second column. So away from the action, up, in, up, away, down, in, down, and this piece moved here. Each time, it's only moving 3 pieces. Okay, this one was these 3 pieces, this one was these 3 pieces. So I'm going to, again, if you have the corners matching the front, determine the direction it wants to be, and then throw it in the direction and let it land. Again, here's green matches the front corners. It's going in the red direction, so away, up, in, up, away, down, in, down. And you'll always have, since it moves 3 pieces around, there'll always be at least 3 pieces to move, and usually more, but there's always at least 3 pieces to move. If it looks like there's not 3 pieces, if it looks like there's 2 pieces, it is an optical confusion. If there's only 2 pieces, that the third piece that you can't see is the piece that you can't see. It's the center row is a quarter turn off. So 1 quarter turn on the layer that has the parity, the optical confusion, will then make one of the cubes right and leave 3 of the edges out of place, so you know how to move 3 edges around. So all parities can be undone with a single quarter turn, and that so you don't have to memorize any long algorithms, and you can undo them as they come up if you're working from outside to in. So, oh yeah, one more. Formula B for the centers. The first horizontal move is to line up so that this is a piece I'm going to move up. So you want to see where it's going to land and line it up so that that is advantageous to come down, if so. Right now, none of these are any more advantageous because I'm just going to, this is a demonstration. So the first column is the piece, I use the piece to tell me what the columns are. So I move it up. I rotate the top so it ends up in a different column. If I go this way, that's the same column, so I have to go this way. Just as long as it's in a different column, and then that is the second column. And then reverse down and reverse down. And we've moved, it looks like we've moved 2 cubes. That's a lot. We've always moved 3 cubes. So that was, this piece went here, and this piece went here, and this piece moved around. So to solve it, line it up so that it's going to land advantageously. Up, slide, up, reverse, down, down. And that's it. The edges can be in place. The centers are much more flexible than the corners or the edges. So that's the overview of A and B. Now I'm going to go and finish my, I did the corners on Monday, so that meant that this was done. I did the edges on Tuesday, that meant that this was done. And what that does is it lines up the corners, and corners dictate what the side faces is going to be, and then the edges are placed between, you know, just directly where they go as they come up. I don't have to pair anything up and pretend it's a 3x3 afterward. I can just work with each cube as it actually is. So corners tell me where the edges are going to be, and I did the opposite edges yesterday, at least, and then I did some of the side edges. some of the side edges I did yesterday. I didn't do this one. I got bored. Put it down. So today I'm going to work on the centers, but before I do, I'm going to finish these side edges. So white goes face down because yellow is my favorite. So opposite edges are done. White and yellow are edges are done. So white goes down, and I look to the side edges to see if they're correct. Make sure my center, if I have one, is lined up. Present to move later on. So I'm just going to take one piece at a time, and I'm going to pick a piece that's incorrect, and we're going to say this piece is incorrect. And so I'm going to use formula B. Excuse me. I'm going to use formula B to displace the piece that's incorrect, and that's going to displace one of the things that is correct. And that's okay, because as I play, it's going to bounce its way around the cube and find its way back to the top. When the yellow comes back to the top, we stop and reassess whether it's correctly placed or incorrectly placed. All we need to do, all we're watching for, is for it to come up to the top. Okay, so this piece is incorrect. I'm going to throw a piece into that spot. Away, up, in, second up, away, down, in, down. Now I don't have to remember that if I use these columns, this is the piece that changes. I just have to pick a piece that's wrong and throw it in its direction, and the cube will sort itself out. So I'm ignoring everything but the one cube I'm working on. So I'm leaving the white alone, I'm leaving the yellow alone, I'm ignoring the yellow, I'm looking for what's not yellow on top. So this is the piece that I'm paying attention to, and I hold that cube, top row, and I rotate the cube until the corners, again the corners tell us what corners dictate, the corners match the front color. Okay, so when the corners match the front color, then I look for see which direction it's going to go. So the second color is blue, it's going to be over the blue corner. The orange and blue is going to go over the orange and blue corner, not in the green direction. So it's going in the blue direction, so I move it away, first up, back, second up, away, down, back, second down. And this piece is going to bippity-bop back and forth while I'm working on this row, this layer. So orange and blue make the cubes match the front color. The other color determines its direction. It's going this way. So away, up, in, up, away, down, in, down. I said I was doing one column at a time. You can do as many as you want up to the middle, but you don't want to go past the middle because you want to keep these cubes stable. So your parity, if there is one, will show up in the same column rather than parallel to each other, rather than adjacent to each other. So this is yellow. Look for what's not yellow. There's a red and green. Corners match the front. It's going in the green direction. Formula B. First column is where you want it to land. Second column is where it began. Top row, away, up, in, up, away, down, in, down. And that cube is placed. Look for the other. Oh, my yellow came back to the top. Okay, when the yellow comes back to the top, then you stop and look and see, are you done? We're working on the layer that is next to the corner. So this piece is done. This piece is not done. So I'm going to displace this piece because it's not correct. And I'm going to, again, displace a yellow down into it. So away, up, in, this is my row, this is my column, second up, away, down, in, down, and that displaced a yellow here into the spot to work with, and it brought a non-yellow to the top. So I'm working with the non-yellow, non-top color. Corners match the front, determine it's going in the blue direction, and formula B. First row, second row. Top column goes away from the action, up, back, up, reverse, down, back, down, and there it is placed. and then we look for another not yellow piece. I don't say where is my. I don't say where is my. Well, these ones. I don't look for a cube to go into a place. I find a piece that's wrong and just toss it in that direction. So there's less inspection time. And there's no pairing up time. You just place them individually and they match themselves. So this cube's going over here, away up, in up, away down, in down. Okay. Not yellow. Okay, yellow came back to the top. So I assess. These two are correct. These two are correct. These two are correct. These two are not. So I'm going to displace one of these. And since this one's not correct, I'm going to use this one to displace it. So up, up, down, down, and looking for the not yellow. Got the green and orange. Line it up. I use white and yellow as my opposite colors, but this can be color neutral very easily. Okay, so corners match the front. It's going in the orange direction. Up, up, down, down. I should have taken a minute to explain that was what looked like a parity there, and how to solve the parities is to stop treating them as one piece. Okay, so corners match the front. It's going in the orange direction. Away up, in up, away down, in down. Yellow came back to the top, so we check and see. The cube next to the corner is correct. The cube next to the corner is correct. Edge piece next to the corner is correct. So this layer is correct. So that's done. Now I look and see what else what's not correct. This edge piece is not correct. So I just place a yellow down into it so I can work with that piece. Up, up, down, down, formula B, blah, blah, blah. Okay, corners match the front. And now I want to make sure that my center is lined up. If my center is not lined up, it's going to give me a parity at the end, which then is solved by turning the center row on quarter turn. So corners match the front. It's going to the red side, away up, in up, away down, in down. Okay, another from something from the top that doesn't belong there. Match up the corners to the front, and it's going in the blue direction. So away up, in up, away down, in down, up, up, down, down. Something on the top that doesn't belong there. Line up the front corners, determine its direction, move it away up, in up, away down, in down, and the cube that I'm moving dictates what those columns are. I don't have to figure it out. Okay, so my yellow came back to the top, so I check again to see what's correct. This is correct, this is correct, this is correct, this is not correct. So I have these two pieces are correctly placed, but they need to be flipped. Now formula B moves 3 pieces around from the top front to the front left, or front side, and so I'm going to do formula B with these two, because these are both incorrect. So I'm going to place this piece down here, which puts the incorrect side piece onto the top where I can move it. Okay, so I did that. Rotate the top twice, brings it back to the front where it wants to be, and then I place this correctly. You can never change one cube; you're always always changing 2. If you're affecting one cube, you're always affecting at least 2. If you're moving one cube, you're always moving at least 3. So I moved these 3 pieces, flipped it around, and then moved these 3 pieces again. And so, like I said, always 3. So I moved 3, keep 3 pieces. I moved this was flipped one time and then flipped back the other time. So that's what it did. Net 0. Good morning if you've just joined me. It's a lazy day today. We have a Thursday today. And we've done the corners, we've done the opposite edges, we've done the side edges, so our cage is complete on all of these. And Formula A will work on the centers, but only for one side because it's going to mess up the other centers. So I don't generally do it unless if there's anything that looks like it wants to be saved. There's nothing here that looks like it wants to be saved. So I can do Formula A for the white if I want to. So here's a piece. It's going to land it up, so it's going to come down. Let's start with the 3, yellow, doesn't matter. So Formula A uses 1 row and 1 column. And so if this is the piece that I want to move, then this is my row and this is my column. So I move this piece away, I move the space down, I move the cube into the space, and the cube and the space back up. Set the top and keep going. This piece wants to be to the top. And again, in doing this, I'm altering all of the sides. So if you don't want to do that, use Formula B. So away, down, in, up. And here's another one. Line it up, away, down, in, up. Set the top. And that's all I can do with Formula A. Everything else has to be Formula B. So, all right, so can I do Formula A here? Sure, why not? Okay. Bring it so that this piece doesn't want to be there. So away, down, in, up, out, down, and up. Set the top and keep going. These ones are down below, but that doesn't mean I can't do it. Just means I have to line up where it's going to land. Move it up. It's 2 instead of 1 because it's on the other side. So move it up, move it to the side, second up, reverse, down, reverse, down, down. Piece, white piece, over here, up, slide up, reverse, down, reverse, down to the top. Okay. All right, so corners, diagonals. There's diagonal centers are managed slightly different than the oblique floating centers. In the diagonal, the cube, it dictates which corner you have to use, which direction the horizontal row has to go. But for the obliques, you can go in whichever direction pleases you, and when you happen to be creating a pattern. So it's just pick a piece that's wrong. Here's an orange. This orange piece is not correct because it's on the blue side. So I'm going to hold the cube so that the orange is on top, and it's going to land right here. So my order of operations is to bring down my face color first, and then bring down opposites from the top second, and same going up. So this piece is going to land on the blue. That's a good move. So first up, slide the top, second up, reverse, down, set the top, and keep going. Here's a green, which has to go 2 hops. So I'm going, but this blue wants to be brought down. So let's make that one of the hops. So we go up, slide up, reverse, down, and then I can follow this green. Oh, I don't want to bring those reds down. So let's put the reds up. first. Okay, so line it up, slide down, slide down. There's another one. Here's a red. I can land on a, bring down a yellow or a blue. Don't want to bring down the blue, so I'll bring down the yellow. Up, down, down. It's at the top. Another blue, another red. Okay, I can bring down the blue or the yellow. I don't want to bring down the blue. So up, down, down. And again, the fact that if you're getting into larger cubes, like a 7 or a 6 or 10 or something like that, having done the edges before you start on the centers helps you keep track of which column you're on, because you're always using 2. And the edges being moved up shows you which piece has to come down again. So if you're going to get lost, it's helpful. So here's a blue. Pick a piece that's wrong, throw it in its direction. Up, down, down. Okay, here's a green. Throw it in its direction. Okay, and bring down the orange or the yellow. So let's do yellow. Up, down, down. Set the top. Pick another piece. Let's do this yellow. And again, it doesn't matter which piece you're doing. It just pick a piece that's wrong and throw it in the direction it wants to be. So I'm going to switch it with this blue. So up, down, down, and I'm just going to keep moving 3 pieces around until there's nothing more to do. Line it up, slide, second up, reverse, down, reverse, down. Here is a green piece, green's on top, line up something favorable, up, down, down. Here's yellow. I don't want to bring an orange down, so let's go to these oranges and get rid of them. So, bring the yellow down first, since that's what it wants. Up, down, down. Set the top. Here's another orange. I can bring down the red or the green. Red needs 2 bounces anyway, so up, down, down, set the top. Here's a red, and it lines up with the yellow, so up, down, down, set the top. Here's the green, lined up, down, down, set the top, and boom! Explosion, happy joys, happy noise, happy dance. That's done. This one also I'd used Formula A for the white side. So again, just pick a cube that's wrong. Here's a yellow. Here's a yellow. Go up to the yellow side. It's going to bring this red down. It's not going to land here, it's going to land somewhere, but it's going to bring the red down to the face. So up, slide up, reverse down, set the top, and keep going. Here's an orange. Has to move a couple times. Is there a red to come bring down? No, so let's displace this blue. So up, down, down, set the top, keep going. Let's follow this orange, why not? Okay, so I can bring down a red or a yellow. I'm going to bring down the red. In fact, I can treat these 2 pieces as one right this time, because these 2 will land in these 2 spots and they both want to come down. So up, slide, second up, reverse, down, reverse, down. Again, the edges being done are visual cues, so you don't get distracted. Because I get distracted. That's one of my superpowers. Okay, so line up, bringing the orange down, up, up, down, down, set the top, follow the red, up, up, down, down, set the top. Here's some green. Okay. I can switch this one, or I can switch this one, or I can switch these two. So I'm going to treat these greens as one. It'll bring this blue down and this red down. So up, up, down, down, slide the top, and keep going. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Here is a blue, as an orange. Let's do the orange one. For no other reason than I just picked a piece that's wrong. It's any piece that's wrong. Okay, so you're going to move to the top, so hold the cube, so that's going to be helpful. Line up, and then up, slide to a different column. The diagonal pieces, you have to be careful which way you turn, because this was a quarter turn, but it didn't give me a new column, so it's not going to work. So I go this way, second up, reverse, down, reverse, down. Ba-dum, boom, boom. Here's a blue. Yes, I am doing the diagonals first. Okay, I want to bring down the yellow or the green. We want to bring the yellow down. So up, slide, up, reverse, down, doop, de doop, de doo. Okay. Here's a blue. Bring down a green. Up, slide, up, reverse, down, slide, down. All right, here's a green. Bring green to the front, to the top. Bring down my red. Up, slide, up, reverse, down, do. Now I do outside in, corners, edges, centers, but this method works whatever your state of solve is. So if you've already done your centers, and doing A and B on the corners and edges does not mess up the centers, does not affect the centers at all. Okay, we're going to line this up. So we go up, double because it's a thing, to the side, up, reverse, down, and I did a double because it was on the other side, but I lined it up, so that works. So corners are all done. Nope, there's an orange. Corner centers, diagonal centers, not corners. Okay, so here's an orange. Orange goes to the top, line it up with the green, up, slide, down, slide down. And yes, if it is redundant, it is because it's repetitive. Not redundant, it's repetitive because really A and B is all you need to solve every cube. It's not the fastest, and it's not the fewest number of moves, but if you are a non-cubist and you want to learn how to do the cube, you can learn this in about 100 minutes, between an hour and a half to 2 hours. The biggest part of learning this cube is pretending to ignore everything else you've learned. So yeah, as I'm creating this method, I'm like, I know what to do with these three things. I can just do da-da-da-da-da, and it'll be solved. It's like, okay, if I do that, then I have to add another formula to my method. Do I want to add another formula to my method? And the answer is, well, not really. And so I believe this is as simplistic as you can get, breaking down how to solve the cube. It's not the fastest or the shortest, but it's the easiest intuitive. It is actually possible to do it without Formula A and just do Formula B for everything, but my brain is not smart enough to anticipate the direction, the rotation and movement of what I'm doing. So everything you do with Formula A, everything I do with Formula A can be done with Formula B, but it's more complex, more mental power than I want to take. So I kept Formula A for everything Formula A will do. And I will see people, you know, I'm heading out to church and I'll see people, I'll have my 7x cube in my hand, and they'll look at it and they go, "Can you really do that? Do you know how to do that?" And in asking that question, they're putting a wall between us, saying that you're a genius and I am not, because the cube has that intimidation factor. And so instead of saying, "Yeah, I can do it," I put it in their hands and said, "You can do it. Here, I'll show you how." And it's fun. It's fun to watch people who think they can't do it suddenly do something that kind of makes sense, and it has the desired effect 100% of the time. So line it up, slide, up, reverse, down, reverse, down. Now that, again, that moved 3 pieces around, but 2 of them were red, so you didn't know it was moving 3 pieces around. Which is a fun shortcut to know if you're taking a cube apart and putting it back together again. When the cube was young, back in the 80s, sometimes it would drop, sometimes a piece would, sometimes you would take a piece out, or someone would have taken a piece out. They're like, "Oh, my first face looks good, but this one's flipped. Let me take it out and put it back together again." People did that a lot. They said, in fact, when I would walk down the street with a cube in my hand, it was just this one. There weren't any larger ones at the time. They'd say, "Ooh, did you take the stickers off or did you take it apart?" There was no third option. That was the only way to do it. And I said, "No, I just solved it." And they're going, "No, not really. No, you didn't." Anyway, so if it has come apart, when you put it back together again, it has to be put together again correctly, or else it's possible to have an unsolvable state. If one if one corner is turned, if one corner is turned clockwise, another corner has to turn counterclockwise, or else it's not possible. If one is turned clockwise, if 3 of them are turned counterclockwise, then that's possible. But you have to mathematically has to come to a 0. So when you take it apart, put it back together again, and then everything's happy. Now the thing is, that's true on every piece that is only correct in one spot. The center is only correct if you're working around the center, there's only one piece that can correctly be between the red, green, and yellow centers, and that's the red, green, and yellow corner. So you have to put everything on a 3x3 has to be put correctly. But when you get to a 4x4, the corners and the edges still need to be placed correctly, or you can have an unsolvable condition. But because these centers do not have to be in a particular spot, this particular piece can be next to the orange, yellow, green corner, or it can be over here next to the orange, yellow, blue corner, or it can be any one of correctly be placed in any one of these 4 corners, which means the other one can be correctly placed in any 3, and the other one can be correctly placed in any 2. So because of the mathematics of the cube, which I don't know but I respect, you can never have just 2 pieces out. You can never have an unsolvable place with the centers. So when you take a cube apart, clean it, lube it, whatever you're going to do, put it back together again, yes, you need to have the corners correct when you assemble, the edges correct when you assemble. But the edge pieces, you don't have to color sort them, because you can assemble it with every, aside from the corners, the edges, and the absolute center, all of these other center pieces can never be incorrectly placed because they can always be, it's always solvable, because you can never you can always move 3. So when you're putting together, when you're assembling a larger cube, you get the corner, you color sort the corners and the edges, and then for the centers, all you have to do is sort them by shape. You don't have to sort them by color. You can just sort them by shape, assemble them however they fit, and then because of the mathematics of the cube, you will be able to solve it. So that saves you time when you're reassembling a large cube. Okay, so that's it for Thursday. I don't have a novelty item for today, unless you want to see the book that I learned on 40 years ago. The simple solution. The cubes were so popular and no one knew how to do them, and so a handful of people made a book showing how to do it. One of them was James Norris. Center, can you focus on that? This was the cube that happened to be on the book rack at my 7-Eleven, so it's the one I picked, it's the one I memorized, it's the one I used, and it's the one I taught back in high school. And I only create the ABCube method was, I created the ABCube method because I was trying to learn how to solve a larger cube. And I could intuit the corners and the edges, but I could not intuit the center. And so I had to find I had to find a commutator that worked on the pieces that I didn't know how to fix. And so I did. And then because I'm more visual than auditory, instead of seeing it, my brain doesn't translate looking at the algorithms. You know, my brain just doesn't intuitively translate that the R and the L are opposite each other, and you know I have to, and the clockwise of one is parallel to the counterclockwise of the other, and my brain gets confused. So I drew arrows to figure out what I was doing, and then I was able to look at what the turns were going to do, and so I narrowed it down to arrows. It's like, okay, this will figure my centers. This will do my centers that I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, gee, I wonder what happens if I do that on a 2x2? What will that do? And I figured out that, what that does is it rotates 3 corners. Well, I know these 5 algorithms that work on corners, and one of them I use to do clockwise, and one of them I use to do counterclockwise, and one of them I use to do opposites, and one of them, and if I do the wrong one, I have to do it again to get it the way I wanted to go, because if I wanted to go clockwise and one did counterclockwise, another one can, anyway. So I'm like, well, if this moves corners, if this reliably moves corners, then if one doesn't work, 2 will. And it's easier for me to not, instead of having to look at it and think, okay, which one of my algorithms do I need for this one, I could just throw all my algorithms away and just, if these 3 corners want to move, I do it once. If that doesn't work, I do it twice, and I don't have to remember whether I'm doing the clockwise one or the counterclockwise one. It's easier for me to do twice than to stop and figure out which one to do. And so I'm like, well, I don't need any of these algorithms for corners then. And so I'm like, what happens if I throw them away? Well, what does it do? What does it do if I use 2 other columns? And and so that became the ABCube method. And it solves every, I was really proud of myself for how to get rid of the parodies. Because the cube, the 3x3 is the initial one, and so it's like, okay, so that's the baseline, and then anything bigger you have to make fit the baseline and then solve it. So when I was looking at a parody, I'm like, well, I don't understand that, so I took a long 27 move parody algorithm, I don't remember which one it was, and I translated that into arrows on my cube, And I'm like, okay, then I treated it like a mathematical equation. I said, okay, if there's a left up here and a left down at the other side, I started canceling from the outside in to see what is actually happening. Okay, well, here's a top to the left, here's a top to the right. What if I cancel those out? And I just treated it like a mathematical equation and got to the very middle. The only thing that I didn't cancel out was a quarter turn in the middle. I'm like, oh, everything else. So there's a setup, there's a turn, and then everything after that is just a deconstruction of what went before. So I'm like, so really what I need is a quarter turn. And at that precise time, I had a void cube that my son was playing with, and he put it together again. He put it together. He goes, wait a minute, what happened? This is not possible. This is not a possible situation. What happened? Because he didn't know the word parity because he hadn't done a 4x4. And so he's going, what's wrong with it? And he looked at it, he goes, my centers are off. And he put the cube down. Because with a void cube, how do you want, which way is the center off? Which way do you have to turn it to get it correctly? Well, the answer is you don't have to turn it any specific way. 1 quarter turn off is going to give you a parity, but 2 quarter turns off is the same as 0 quarter turns off. So odd gives you a parity, even is solvable. Doesn't matter which way you do it. So all you have to do is just do a quarter turn, any one on the layer that the parity is, a quarter turn, and then resolve again with the center with that layer in the correct position, and the parity disappears. So what's the correct position? What's the incorrect position? If the cube solves together, it was correct. If you end up with 2 that need to swap places, that's incorrect. And again, if you're always moving 3 pieces. So on the edges, if it looks like only 2 pieces need to move and everything else is correct, then the third piece that you can't see, so you think doesn't exist, is the piece that you can't see. It's the fact that layer itself was a quarter turn off. Make that quarter turn, and you can solve it. Now, doing that will displace the 1 row of centers if you've already done the centers, which is one of the reasons why I do the centers last. But that is the undoing a parity with that 1 quarter turn is the only thing about the system that's going to mess up anything that you already have solved or think you have solved. So if you work from the outside in, you can see the parity, catch the parity immediately, and then undo it with a quarter turn and proceed. So you don't have to look and see which parity you have at the end, and because there's a parity can look like anything. It can look like these 2 pieces flipped. It can look like these 2 pieces flipped. It can look like these 2 pieces flipped. It can look like these 2 pieces repositioned. I said flipped. I mean in the wrong position. I meant misaligned. I don't do words very well. I know words, I just mix them up. So, but whatever your parity looks like, it is always the same parity. It is always solved by the same solution. The fact, and that is the fact that one of your slices is a quarter turn off from where it wants to be. Because what you cannot see can still affect the pieces. And so that's it. That's my Thursday. Thank you for joining me, letting me be part of your background noise as you get ready for work or school. I will be back here again tomorrow and hope to see you guys. So go have a good day. Be kind to yourself. Bye.